Hello everyone, welcome to Wheels of Technology. Today we'll be creating a React project with ASP.NET using a SQL Server as the backend. First, let's open up Visual Studio and we'll create a new project. We'll click on Create New Project. We'll search here ReactJS. We'll find a template. We'll select this ASP.NET Core with ReactJS. Click Next. Just call this demo React.js. Click Next. We'll unselect the HTTPS since we'll just be running this locally and not be hosting. Click Next. First time you write this project and run it, it'll take a little bit longer since it prepares the package and dumps it. So first we'll just run it without debugging it. And this will build it and then create a proxy server. And this is may take a little bit of time here since it's preparing the package. Okay, the build was successful. It's starting. This will start our proxy server, our development server here starting. And once that starts, and then it'll pull up the website. That was successful, and here we are. And we can just, this is our sample homepage, and you get a fetch data using the React sample. And we'll run this again, and this time we'll debug this, put in some breakpoints. This is our get function in the weather forecast controller. We'll call this, this will be called from the React when it renders it. We'll put a breakpoint here. Let's go to our source, our components. Um, this app route will give us the mapping for the URL. When you click on this in the link, this will point it to our fetch data class for the mapping, which is here, our fetch data class, and that will mount the weather data and then call our controller to fetch that data. So let's run it on debug mode and see the React in action. And starting the server, here we have the hello world again. And if we click on this function, it calls in the populate weather data, and that called the HTTP get weather forecast, which returns an array. And then this will go back to our React and render a page. You have to refresh this and time when you put pauses in there, it causes some issues. And here it is. You have the table that's been rendered from this HTML layout here. So we'll stop this. And I have an existing project that I already created that uses the SQL Server backend. It has a very similar uh, layout as this demo. We'll close this and we'll run this. We have this a similar uh, layout here, but I have some data layer that grabs the data from SQL Server. You have the mapping here for our fetched data activities and a URL that calls out our fetch data, then mounts the data and calls our controller. We have our controller here. Okay. So let's just run this without debugging. Again, this will start our development server. Once that starts, it pulls up our web page. And here's the sample for our fetch. And this populates our table that we also have rendered in the fetch. So if we put some breakpoints in here in our controller, we have a breakpoint in our get, a breakpoint in our populate. And you can see also this has the, I mentioned that again, this is the URL that maps to our fetch data activities. So let's run this in debug mode. Mm. And when server runs, then that will load our web page. And go. So here's our home page, which has the fetch activities, uh, React call. If we click on that, that puts a breakpoint, stops here in our uh, fetch data activities class, and then that will put a breakpoint and populate the data activities with the JSON response. So this will call our controller. Here's the controller. It gets the data, returns the data from our SQL server when that calls a store procedure. Has this one has 45 records. We'll have to refresh this since we took a pause, a long pause, which causes the rendering to timeout. But here's the results of the activities data, which has our activities that was loaded with the 45 records that was rendered from our fetch data uh, table layout here. This ends our video. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe and like.